La palabra a Su Excelencia el señor Michael Forbes, embajador representante permanente de Irlanda ante la OECD y la UNESCO.
Mr. Chairman, Ministers, Ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, first I would like to pay tribute to the President of the General Conference who was elected and the tribute it is to his great country. I would like you to pass that on to him. He's not here at the moment. Ireland would like to associate itself with the statement of the European Union, which will be made tomorrow morning. UNESCO celebrates its 70th anniversary this year. We all agree on that. We all also agree that as we mark this anniversary, it is clear that UNESCO's mission is more relevant than ever. While the challenges are enormous and the principles of the organisation are being attacked from many quarters, there is still reason for hope. The Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030, endorsed by all members of the UN on the 25th of September, are unique. They represent a contract for all of humanity. The world is no longer separated between developed and developing. We all have goals to achieve together, and the effort is truly universal for our humanity, our planet, and shared sustainable peace. Ireland was privileged to be a co-facilitator along with Kenya in negotiating the 2030 Agenda in New York last summer. The constructive nature of those negotiations, which involved not only all nations of the world, but also engaged stakeholders and NGOs, is a reason for hope for the future. We all have our roles to play in achieving the 2030 Agenda. UNESCO is central to so much of that agenda. Indeed, henceforth, all of the work of UNESCO will be seen through the prism of 2030. Over the past number of years, UNESCO has reformed and refocused its efforts and methods of working, making it now much better suited to take on the challenges of the 2030 Agenda. Much more fit for purpose than it was at the beginning of this decade. So I take this opportunity to congratulate the organisation on that achievement, its tireless Director General, Irina Bokova, and its dedicated staff. I would like, on the behalf of the Government of Ireland today, to pay particular tribute to all of the staff of UNESCO who have struggled so hard over the past 5 years. The three pillars of UNESCO, education, science and culture, are fundamental to the achievements of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. More broadly, UNESCO's ethical and cultural vocation provides this sustainable thread to the achievements of 2030. And yet, the principles of UNESCO, the principles of humanism, remain under threat by self-appointed extremists who set themselves beyond the global discourse. This expresses itself in many ways. The threat and even attacks on children, especially girls going to school. The destruction of the world's cultural monuments as weapons of war and enslavement. The setting of one religion or culture against another. The undermining of freedom of speech directly and through the agents of that freedom, our journalists. An attack on one culture is an attack on all civilization. An attack on one religion is an attack on all. An attack on one journalist is an attack on the freedom of speech of every one of us. An attack on one girl going to school is an attack on all education and all children. UNESCO, through the leadership of its Director General, Irina Bokova, and in close cooperation with Member States, is fighting back against these threats. The organisation, with its ethical principles and mandate, is fighting back with the sustainable weapons of argument, reason, and it is even helping physically to rebuild what extremists thought they had destroyed, thus restoring to communities their dignity and feeling of self-worth. I'm very pleased to remind delegates that the programme of Irish Aid, which provides humanitarian assistance and supports long-term development on behalf of the Irish people, has consistently financed the UNESCO Global Monitoring Report on Education. Ireland would like to endorse the Executive Board's recommendation to the General's Conference to establish a new international geoscience and geopark programme, which would give UNESCO geoparks a formal recognising label. To this end, the Irish National Commission for UNESCO confirms its support for the transition of the 3 current Irish geoparks to this new label. Ireland has 2 chairs of education, one in University College Galway, which works directly and indirectly with others to attack the forces of extremism from wherever they come. Our other education chair is about disability and engaging people with disabilities in a full fitness programme. A lot of that is about removing the fear that we have. I believe that when we remove fear, we begin to remove prejudice and discrimination. On that note, I would like to end my address and wish UNESCO well for the next 2 years. Thank you, Mr. Chair.